I saw this movie called Ash. It's a Shutter film. Came out this past weekend, and it's a kind of like a sci-fi horror movie. Okay, here's my take on it. Ready? Kind of fell meh for me. Not because of the actors. The actors were great. We had Aiza Gonzalez and Paul Rudd. Okay, and they Paul Rudd, Aaron Paul. My bad. Their name sounded familiar. Yeah, it didn't fall right with me. But before I get into that part, let me explain what it's about real quick. It's a sci-fi. It takes place, I guess, somewhere in the distant future, and it involves a group of colonists that are looking for a new planet to make the air breathable to colonize. Okay, and what happens is the movie starts out with her name is Raya. Raya wakes up from on the floor of her quarters in this station on this planet, and she doesn't know what the heck happened. The rest of her crew are dead. She finds them sprawled all over the place. One was stabbed, one was gouged, one was destroyed, one is messed up outside. It was bad. Now she's trying to figure out what went wrong. Okay, and then she comes across Aaron Paul's character. Brian is trying to help her figure it out, and that they got to get up to the next, I guess, ship that's coming by to pick up people. But she wants to get to the bottom of what happened to her crew, her friends, right? So most of the movie is spent her trying to unravel this mystery of what happened to them because she doesn't remember anything. She didn't even remember who she was. She had amnesia, basically. So it was kind of like a mind wipe. And, it scared her, it confused her. You see her go through these different things that challenges her, sense of what's real and what isn't. Those things I found admirable. Those things I found good as and complex, and I added complexity to the story. However, it dragged, and the movie was quite long, and I don't think it should have been that long. Um, I think they could have told the story more compact and more, more tightness. But I digress. The movie ends up showing her and Brian trying to figure out what happens, and then what eventually comes out is that this alien species that was there initially, um, did not want anything to do with these humans coming here to interfere with their planet. So the aliens apparently did something, and I'm not going to get into the details of it because it was quite cool to watch. You know what these aliens did. Obviously, they had a sense of advancement from humans that they were able to do the things they did. Uh, Again, I think what fell short for me with it was the delivery. They dragged it. They dragged the point. The point was dragged too much for me that I was starting to nod off on a couple of occasions. Not because it was boring. It was let's get on with the next thing. Okay, so that's kind of what happened to me there. The acting was great, but the the conflict when you lose your mind and you don't know what's going on, you're gonna try to you're lost. Basically, you're lost, and it just didn't fall right though. The delivery. I have to. I keep going back to that because honestly, it's sad because this movie had potential, in my view, for it to be a huge blockbuster, but it turned out to be a kind of a story that fell short due to its stretching. They didn't need to get into too much detail. However, I'm going to tell you something right now about this film. This film made me think of two other films, and here they are. Yeah, those films. There was elements of The Thing, and there was elements of Alien in this movie. And I said, wow, I think they might have taken notes from both those films to kind of create the alien creatures that we end up seeing in this movie because they do show up in a very crazy way. And immediately in my brain, I thought, oh my God, that's like The Thing. That's The Thing. Like it was, that's what it reminded me of. And the other thing that bugged me was, okay, so this must have been in the future, and Earth is probably in bad shape, but this planet wasn't in good shape either. Like people were all excited. You should have seen the crew in the beginning, because there's flashbacks to when the crew was together and they were there and they were happy and they were seeing that and they were rejoicing at this planet they found. And I'm thinking to myself, God, Earth must be in really bad shape for them to be jumping for joy at this crap, because that place was a hot mess. So who knows, right? The movie had its moments, good moments, but I'm gonna give Ash only 2 coffee cups because, again, of its it dragged. It dragged. It was a good story that dragged. Had they not done that, had they made the whole synopsis of the story tighter, I would have appreciated it even more than I did. And again, there are parts that I did appreciate, but I have to be fair on about how I felt about this. I walked out of there saying, God, we could have been here, we could have left sooner, you know, or at least give me a better, well formed story to make me really enjoy every moment of those 95 minutes. And I guess it just didn't form enough well for me. I'm not saying it's a horrible movie. I'm saying that it's just not something I would see again. Point blank. So there it is. My thoughts on Ashes. I wanted to make this quick and painless. What are your thoughts on the movie? If you saw it, talk to me, comment below, and let me know what you think of Ash. Okay. One more thing. When she was outside looking up at the sky, at the space, there was this weird kaleidoscope looking thing, and I was like, "What is that?" And nobody. There was no explanation for it. Maybe that's how the atmosphere looked. I guess I don't know. It just looked weird. It looked like an artwork. It didn't look like a sky, and there was no explanation for it. So there it is. That was just one more thing about it that made me question it. So again, let me know what you think, and by all means, tap on the bell for future notifications for future Horror and Coffee content, and consider subscribing to the channel if you have not. I have a Buy Me a Coffee link down below for you to support the channel in any way that you can with your generosity. Until next time, this is Ralph Perez from Horror and Coffee. More things coming up for this channel. Stay tuned. Take care.